Hi, I'm Paul Linsek, and welcome to Behind the Curtain. Now that we've got that holiday chill in the air and holidays where we all stuff ourselves with all sorts of food, and let's remember that there are a lot of people who don't have what many of us are blessed to have, and I want to talk about what we can do to help them. Joining me is Lisa Dietlin. She's a philanthropic advisor. This is what she does for a living, advice for people in this area. You've seen her very often on WGN News and also on my Politics Tonight show, and now we get her on the podcast. Lisa, thanks for joining me.
Hey, happy to be here, Paul, and happy holiday season.
Well, absolutely, for all of us. And so, let's set the tone here a little bit. When people think about people in need, we always think it's somebody over there. It's not me. It's not my family. Maybe it's even nobody that I know. But the truth is, and I know your philosophy is, hunger may be closer than you think.
It absolutely is. Hunger is a 365-day-a-year problem for more than 45 million Americans. And what that means, it's the mom or the dad that's working two jobs to put food on the table. The mom that might water down the milk to make it go further. It might mean that kids never experience a second helping of food at the table. Hunger is hidden in so many ways in our community. They say 1 out of every 6 Chicagoans, and that translates pretty universally across the nation, are food insecure, meaning they don't know where their next meal is going to come from.
So if we want to help out, probably I shouldn't say the easiest thing to do, because it's not that it's easy, but one of the most convenient things to do if you want to help others in need is, for one, make a donation. Give some money to organizations and entities that do help other people, right? That's one way to help.
Absolutely. That old saying, cash is king, is really true in the food business especially. Many of us at this time of year think, I want to put a food basket together, or, I want to go to the grocery store and I'll buy a meal. But what folks don't often understand, what your listeners might not understand, is that food banks and food pantries and agencies and soup kitchens often have 4 to 6 times the buying power with those financial resources we provide than we do. And what that means is, you went to the grocery store, Paul, and you bought $10 worth of groceries. If you gave that $10 to a food bank, a soup kitchen, a food agency, they might be able to buy $40 to $60 worth of food because of their relationships with vendors and food producers.
So really what you're saying is that while some people want to donate, we at WGN, we just had a can drive. People brought cans of food, that kind of thing, which is wonderful. But it sounds like when you make a donation to entities that have buying power, your dollar can go further in terms of what it's actually buying.
It absolutely can. And while canned goods great, and I saw that online where WGN was doing the can drive, and applaud them and all the employees, what I fear is that people clean out their pantry. And what I often say to folks when they tell me, I'm cleaning out my pantry and donating the food to a homeless shelter or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want it. I'll give it to somebody else.
If you don't want it, the person who's receiving it might not know what to do with those smoked oysters or those, I don't know, some of those little spices that we get, capers. I guess that's my least favorite.
Yeah.
And an ingredient. But I said, if you don't know what to do with them, my guess is the person who's receiving them might not know what to do with them, or might not care for the taste of them. And so, giving dollars actually allows food banks, soup kitchens, and pantries to buy food that's indigenous to people that used to. There's these group of Marshallese from the Marshall Islands that settled in Arkansas, and the food bank there started distributing food, and they weren't eating it, they weren't taking it, and they realized that the food that Marshallians, which I learned is their name, Marshall Island folks, ate was different than what Arkansas people ate, and so they actually were able to buy the food that was more native to their palate than what was perhaps being distributed by the food bank for those who had grown up in Arkansas their whole life.
Now, for those people who say, look, I'm not really, flush with cash right now, or it's a difficult thing with, of course, anything, you give $10, anything can help.
Yeah.
But what are some of the other ways that people can, and I one of the ways, for example, is go to a food kitchen, volunteer your time. What are the things people can do aside from give money to help during this time of holiday giving?
They absolutely can volunteer. That's the number one thing I always champion. Give your time, take your family, teach that tradition to your children, to your family members, give back, educate people about the importance of being aware of what's happening in your neighborhood, in your community. Invite somebody over for a meal. Perhaps there is a senior couple living next door to you that their children are grown and gone and living in different parts of the country, and they don't come home every holiday. And again, hunger is 365 days a year. Invite them over for that barbecue. Invite them over for that Sunday dinner. Invite them over or take them over leftovers. If you're making a pot of chili, if your pot of chili, Paul, gets like mine, it gets the control. And it's like,
I know how to cook. I might have a pot of chili.
Where do I take all this chili? Actually, take it into your neighbor or into work. A lot of people starting out, in new jobs, you could, take a pot of chili in and you're helping them out with a meal. Hunger doesn't look like what we think it looks like, of the bloated belly in the third world and developing countries. So there's a way that you can help feed. I also think in this time of busyness of the holidays that are coming upon us, and even throughout the year, I would say this, give your neighbors and your friends a break. If they have small children, offer to babysit for them. If they're an elderly couple that might be trying to stretch their budget, maybe you shovel their sidewalk for them so that they don't have to pay somebody to come and shovel it for them. There's lots of small ways that we can all help each other during the holiday season. And some of it's giving our time, some of it's doing service for others, and some of it's providing a financial resource.
I think one of the things you're reminding me of, Lisa, is that, and I know one of the statistics you put out there, 1 out of every 6 families in Chicago is in need of or is experiencing hunger. Do I have that right? Basically 1 in 6?
Correct. You absolutely do have that correct.
So I think one of the things we want to realize is we don't just get hungry on the holidays. We're hungry 365 days a year. So the kinds of things we're suggesting, while they get highlighted at holiday season, the reality of it is people are hungry 365 days a year.
They absolutely are, and this is a startling statistic I learned when I started working with Feeding America, which is the nation's network of food banks, more than 200 food banks that cover every county in this country, this wonderful country. I thought, oh my gosh, we can't possibly have a hunger problem because what the news focuses on is obesity. Everybody has more than enough food. We're obese. We always talked about how overweight this country is. Well, the fact is it's not nutritious food. I mean, that's a part of it. There's also food that people are eating that's not adding to their, dietary nutritional needs. So when you think about hunger in this country, it looks very, very different. And here's the kicker. We can track it often by the number of free and reduced lunches and breakfasts that kids get at school. And think about this, Paul. While we might get excited for holiday breaks, for many kids, when there's a holiday break in their school schedule, they don't have access to food. They don't have access to hot meals, a hot breakfast, and a hot lunch. A lot of kids, their last hot meal is Friday lunch before they get to school Monday morning. That weekend is really tough for them, and there's a lot of backpack programs that schools are instituting and have instituted. Summer is a tremendous time of hunger for many kids that get free and reduced lunches and breakfasts. And I think when I learned that statistic, it took my breath away to think about kids running around and being hungry, playing outside, but not knowing if there's going to be a meal inside that has protein, has tuna fish, has, beef, protein, peanut butter, and it has fresh fruits and vegetables. I don't know about you, but when I walk in my neighborhood, I see kids eating things that might have calories but aren't necessarily nutritious and add value to their diet.
Well, exactly. And so this puts a highlight. So really, the message is so broad. It's all year round. It gets highlighted here. But by the way, many people are involved in their churches, their synagogues, places. That's another place where you can give back all year round, but certainly in the holiday times, work with your place of worship to get things to people who are in need.
Absolutely. And don't forget our military and our veterans. There's a lot of highlighting of the challenges that veterans face and their families face and the military families face. Sometimes they often are hungry. I've heard actually food pantries on military bases because the family can't make the dollar stretch. We're expecting these men and women to do amazing work in protecting us, 24/7, 365,
right.
And we can take care of their families. I mean, you think about nursing homes and perhaps hospitals that might have people staying with them long term. Call ahead. I often recommend call ahead. Just don't show up, with 24 dozen cookies or something.
Exactly.
But call ahead and see what's needed. Because, everybody appreciates, good food and quality food, especially during the holidays, but it can be used all year long. I mean, think about if you're in a nursing home or a senior center, and if you and some friends got together and took a barbecue to them in the spring or in the summer. My guess is that people living in senior centers and in nursing homes don't often get barbecue, but they get a whole lot of food during the holidays.
For those of us who, sort of just take for granted the wonderful blessings we have of, I can't eat another bite, I'm so stuffed. More turkey? No, couldn't possibly have any more of that. That there's people for whom that kind of gift would be the blessing of the season. So let's take care of them.
It is. And if you're thinking about a special time of year, one thing I would love your listeners to know is that for food to get into a holiday distribution, it has to be 2 weeks before. Because just like we go grocery shopping the week before a holiday to make sure we have all of our ingredients, food is distributed a week before to those in need so that they can prepare for their holiday meal. So if you were planning on doing something the day before, it probably won't get into that holiday distribution, but it would be used for the next distribution or the next holiday. So
what a great point.
Folks, get a little confused because they get excited like, I'm buying a turkey for Thanksgiving, I'll buy two and don't one. And then they get frustrated because they're told it's not going to be distributed because the distribution happened the week before. Just remember, people who are food insecure and don't have access to food still have the same issues we have. They still got to make menu, they have to plan, they have to know who's coming, how much food they have. And so food banks and food pantries try to make that a little bit easier by distributing the food a week ahead of time. Perfect.
Lisa, for people who want to check you out, you got a brand new website people should look at, so tell them where to go.
Go to lisadietlin.com, and that's Lisa, D as in David, IET as Tom, LIN.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, friend, like, poke, nudge, whatever we do these days.
And you've written books, you've got resources. This isn't just about the conversation we've had. There's so many great pieces of life advice available on your website. I thank you for your time on this topic. And I know there's so many, we have to talk about charitable giving. There's things we got to talk about. We're going to do it on another podcast. I know I'll get you back. I got to do that. And I appreciate your time here on having people to give for the holidays. Give back when you are lucky to have received.
Everybody can make a difference. You just have to take a moment, hit pause in your life and say, what am I going to do to help someone's life be a little better today?
Exactly. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for joining me. Lisa Dietlin, lisadietlin.com. Thanks a lot.